This week, we have Saturn moving into Aries, 0 degrees of Aries, and joining Neptune. And the exact conjunction will happen on the 20th of February. So I want to have a look at this. Aries as fire initiation is how I want to approach this astrology. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees Aries is best read not as reality dissolves or dreams collapse, but as a specific kind of initiation. And that's the forging of a solar quality agency, the ability to generate heat, direction and beginning, whilst refusing both extremes of fire. So the wildfire, the fanaticism, crusade, or an ego myth. And then the other side of it, the damp ash, the drift, the disillusion, learned helplessness. Aries is providing ignition and Saturn is supplying constraint and consequences, whilst Neptune supplies the imaginal and the sacred. The initiation is learning to let the vision become structurable without becoming coercive. Hello, welcome back to Soul Symbols Astrology. I'm Karen Sullivan, and today I'm going to be looking at this Saturn and Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries. A big reset for us individually and collectively. And I'm looking at it through the lens of initiation by fire. So we'll have a look at that subject matter, what that means to be initiated through fire. And I will have a look at this, both Saturn and Neptune, their archetypal qualities and how they're expressing through Mars's temple of Aries. I'll look at some practicalities of how we can apply this in everyday life. And then I'll focus down on every sign. So I'll bring a short horoscope for each sign. And timestamps will be in the description. If you enjoy what you're hearing, please like, subscribe, comment, and share with anyone who you think it would be helpful for. And if you want a personal astrology reading, particularly with this enormous reset with Saturn and Neptune in Aries, then nip along to www.soulsymbols.co.uk. There's an easy booking system there. Let's drop the incense and vibes version of Saturn and Neptune conjunct in Aries. Initiation by fire is not a metaphor people invented just because it sounds cool or makes a good meme. It's a technology, and fire is dangerous, but controlled changes who we are allowed to be. I want to approach the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees Aries as a collective initiation into solar agency, learning to generate beginnings that are accountable. So it's not wildfire and it's not mushy ash that Neptune might bring. It's heat that we can build with. So 0 degrees Aries isn't just that first degree in a fire sign. It's the vernal point. It's the hinge where the sun crosses the celestial equator northward. It's used as a reference point in the sky's coordinate system. It's an orientation point and a reset line. And there's classical logic in this, classical astrological logic. Aries is solar increase, and Saturn strains here. Ptolemy says that the sun is exalted in Aries because day length and heating power begin to increase. And under that same logic, he says Saturn is depressed in Aries because as the heat rises, Saturn's cold principle is diminished. So Saturn is at 0 degrees of Aries. The cold law is standing in the doorway of rising heat. it has to change form. And I want to look here at the mechanics of initiation and how thresholds actually change people. If we look at anthropology, it gives us a repeatable model. There's separation, liminality, and then incorporation. So it's a cutting from the old role, entering the in-between, and then re-entering with a new status. So that is that betwixt and between. So if 0 Aries is the seasonal threshold and Saturn Neptune lands there, we're looking at a rite of passage signature. It's disillusion plus rebonding. So those fire rites are changing bodies and they're changing bonds. And we can measure some of it. If you look at firewalking research, it shows synchronized physiological arousal between performers and related spectators. The bodies are in training. And another study finds firewalkers show the biggest heart rate spikes and report greater happiness after the ritual. So pair that with costly signaling theory. Its high-cost rituals act as hard-to-fake signals of commitment, and they stabilize cooperation. That's fire initiation as social technology. So then we come to Neptune. What is Neptune doing in Aries? It signifies the imaginal, its ideals, its longings, glamour, and that sense of the sacred. In Aries, it's not dreaming privately. It's wanting to be incarnate as action. It's operating through a Mars lens. And that's beautiful, but it's also volatile. The same fuel that can birth art can birth fanaticism here. So we have Saturn here with Neptune right there at ignition, and Saturn being time, consequence, boundary. With Neptune, it's the demand that the imaginal become ethical and workable, tested in the real. But remember, in the old logic, Saturn is stressed in Aries. So it isn't about authority winning, it's authority gets forged in this fire of Aries. If you can't hold him, you either crack or you collapse. And then there's the exaltation of the sun. This is an alternative lens. It's the exaltation of the sun, Aries. So the initiation isn't to be brave, it's to be solar. The sun returns in Aries by increasing steadily. And there's a sense of emulation here. It's steady ignition, a reliable heat that doesn't need an enemy. Aries begins, Saturn makes it repeatable, and Neptune makes it meaningful. So the implications for us with our inner work is looking at where we outsource our fire, our passion, our vision. Where do we wait for permission or wait for the mood to take us to move forward? And then look at Saturn, that energy. There may be a container you can build, a vow you can keep, a boundary that you're definitely enforced, or a weekly practice that you're not going to negotiate with. And the alchemical implication is it sees heat not just as destruction. It's like a discrimination. It's separating, it's refining, it's separating the dross from essence, then recombining. So too much of that fire will burn the matter, too little will leave it unchanged. So this transit alchemically is asking for the right heat. And with our work and creativity, the implication is not to announce the revolution here. Prototype it, people. A small, deliverable each week, a visible practice. Saturn rewards repeatability and consistency, and Neptune rewards meaning. And then we have Aries that rewards the first step. So we can work that into our practice. Collectively, this is when people want a new myth, but liminal periods are when scapegoats get invented and purity spirals go viral. The initiation is where the movements can build real containers such as laws, norms, mutual obligations without turning them into weapons or repression. So if you're feeling this pressure, good. Sounds harsh. Initiation is pressure plus meaning plus containment. And the question isn't, will the fire come? It's, can you hold it in the form that creates life? That's 0 Aries. So fire initiation isn't just, poetic fluff. It is a repeatable social technology. We've got the heat, plus the ordeal, plus the witnesses, plus meaning, which brings us to commitment to ourselves, to our process, to one another, and social cohesion. So what are the implications for this? Saturn, Neptune at 0 degrees, initiating this fire. So we can look at our inner work. So this is an initiation into discipline, desire. So discipline in our passion, our vision, our desires. Neptune in Aries is dreaming forward towards the future. And then we have Saturn in Aries, which is demanding that dream, that vision, that meaning is going to survive contact with time, over time. So the psychological anchor here, it's not that song about, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So trauma makes you stronger. It's not about that. It has much more precision. It's that growth can be reported as an outcome of struggle, and it can be measured. It has been measured. Many scholarly academic research says it can be measured. So how do we put that in practice? Well, we could choose one vow, one promise to ourselves that we can keep over a period of weeks. But if that can't be repeated, then that Saturn archetype is not in there yet. It's not put in the practical material reality. And another implication is spiritually, it's spiritual initiation. Spiritual initiation can be looked at as conversion, and that is a reorganization of the self around what to us feels ultimately real. And that is sometimes a gradual process, and sometimes it's sudden. We hear of people having sudden awakenings. Neither one is better. It's just a process that is different for different people. And that religious or spiritual struggles that we have to that reorganization of self makes room for the burning part. So that can look like anger at God, the divine, however you see that. Moral struggle, doubt, ultimate meeting, these are all mapped out. They're real mapped out areas in people's lives over history, over culture. They're not anomalies. So our practice with spiritual initiation, it can be looking at and naming the struggle that we're having, but not mythologizing it as Neptune will have you do. Saturn is bringing that definition, and Neptune will be asking for honesty here. And then with alchemy and our inner alchemy, alchemy has got a serious history as practice and theory. It's not just some new age fantasy. It is embedded in metallurgical and alchemical work as humanity taking the place of time. So it's an acceleration of nature's hidden processes, initiatory imagination, which is grounded in literal furnace work. Okay, so The practice for our alchemy and our inner alchemy is finding the right heat, because too much heat will burn the matter. It will bring those wildfires, like emotionally, literally, and too little will change nothing. They'll just be ash. So Saturn and Neptune conjunct in Aries can be looked at as temperature management for our behaviour, our thoughts, our feelings, and definitely for our actions. And the other implication is collective and political power. So this is where the transit can get really hot, okay? Neptune in Aries can sanctify a cause, and Saturn in Aries can harden it into law. So the danger with this is purification language can easily become violations of boundary, draconian law, fanaticism as well. So our practice here is that demand of containers that are going to reduce harm. So this can look like transparent rules, accountability, or limits on power. Because there's a sense of a movement as a collective, whether it's political or the people. If a movement can't constrain itself, it'll eventually be constrained from the outside. And then we can look at astrology as craft. It is a craft. So anchor your interpretation in what 0 degrees of Aries is astronomically. It's a coordinate for us. It's an equinox point. And anchor the Saturn in Aries stress in Ptolemy's seasonal logic of heat and cold. And then read Neptune as imaginal permeability and Saturn as boundary time. So that's initiation being a vision that can be kept. So in closing of this section, I want to say that the alternative look is not Saturn kills Neptune's dreams or Neptune melts Saturn's reality. It's more specific. At a degree that functions as beginning, you're being initiated into solar agency here. It's steady ignition with Saturn as the tempering and Neptune as the sacred horizon of meaning. So ask yourself here, what would it look like for my fire to become reliable? And so the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees Aries, it's a threshold degree, which is tied to beginnings, and the initiation theme is fire, not wildfire, not ash. It's that consistent, reliable heat. And we're talking about gaining solar agency. That looks like Aries ignition, Neptune bringing the dream and the sacred horizon, and Saturn bringing that container, the time, consequence, and repeatability. And the test of that to see if you're working with those archetypes is can your fire become reliable? You know, can you cook on it? Can you cook a meal that you can eat? Wildfire, that just looks like zeal without limits, crusade energy, purity spirals, or it can be dramatic decisions that are unsustainable. And ash is like drift, disillusion, numbness, and that mindset, oh, nothing matters, that kind of nihilism. The medicine is steady ignition. So a vow you can keep, a vision you can stand behind, and something, a weekly action in a reality that proves all those things. So I'm going to do the whole sign house horoscope by rising sign. So listen for your ascendant first, and I'll see you there. So let's begin with where the fire is most literal, Aries rising. This conjunction, Aries, is lighting up your identity and embodiment. So your initiation is becoming a reliable source of your own heat. Saturn is asking you to choose a standard for how you live in your body and how you show up in the world. And Neptune is asking that standard is guided by something sacred, something meaningful, not just a verbal acquiescence to it or a performance. So your weekly action could be one visible, repeatable behavior change. So an example is, make it simple, 10 minutes of movement or 1 page of writing every day for 8 weeks. One clear boundary in how you're going to spend your energy. So the wildfire for you is proving yourself by burning bridges or making dramatic declarations. And the ash is drifting and waiting for motivation. The message is that this is steady ignition for you and not theatre. And now we move from the visible self to the hidden fire, Taurus rising. It's in your 12th house. So this is a fire initiation behind the scenes, Taurus. It's unconscious patterns, spiritual hygiene, and the places you disappear to, where you withdraw from the world. So Saturn is asking for containment around escapism. So that can be, sleeping an awful lot, scrolling, numbing out, secret resentments. And Neptune is strong here, dreams and intuition, but also that fog. So your vow could look like, I will not abandon myself in private. And your weekly action could be one disciplined retreat that nourishes instead of avoids. So it's not a recluse away from society to escape. It could also look like one tech-free evening, one therapy or journaling session, one structured spiritual practice. So, for example, you could choose a single closing ritual before bed and keep it. So wildfire for you in your 12th house is suppressed emotion erupting as self-sabotage. And the ash is that quiet resignation. So watch for those things, name the pattern that you see emerging from maybe your unconscious, and give it a container. Bring it into reality. So we're moving from the private patterns to public networks, and that's Gemini rising. And for Gemini rising, it's your 11th house. So this initiation is through community or friends, movements. It could be your audience and the future you're building with others. So here for you, Saturn is demanding standards for belonging. But these will need clear agreements, clear roles, clear ethics. Neptune is bringing the dream of collective renewal, but also the risk of idealizing groups or communities. So your vow, your promise to yourself could be, I won't outsource my moral compass to the group. And a weekly action could be building one piece of structure in your community life, guidelines for a group or a collaboration agreement, or consistent contribution to those groups. So an example is start a weekly circle or forum with clear moderation and purpose. Your wildfire, Gemini, is crusade energy and purity tests. Okay, so that idealizing the groups or causes, and And ash is disillusionment and withdrawal. So that middle path for you is responsible belonging. So now we go from the ground to the spotlight. Cancer rising. This is happening for you in your 10th house. Very visible. So your public role in leadership, this conjunction is happening on. So this initiation isn't about being bolder and, more visible. It's about leading without fanaticizing and building without hardening. Because as we build in public, we can become hard to the pressures. So Saturn is asking you about your responsibilities and what your standards are. And Neptune is making an inquiry or asking you to inquire, what are you serving and what is the deeper purpose for your work? So weekly action for you could look like one visible professional deliverable that proves the new identity. So, for example, you could have a weekly output schedule that is sustainable. So one post, one pitch, one system, one boundary. Make it simple and sustainable. The wildfire for you, Cancer, is savior mode. Overpromising, ethics bending under mission. That pressure to get your mission carried out. And the ash is a collapse into cynicism. So for you, Cancer, it really is solar leadership. It's steady contribution and accountable influence. So we're going to move from career to calling, Leo rising. This is happening for you, this conjunction and this massive reset in your 9th house. So this is a belief and meaning initiation for you by fire. We're talking teaching, publishing, studying, particularly spirituality, with it being exalted sun here, and worldview. So Saturn will be requiring from you intellectual integrity. What do you actually know and stand behind? Neptune will be bringing that revelation, but also projection. So you have to be careful about projecting onto others. So your promise to yourself, your vow, you could say, I won't preach what I haven't practiced. It's always good to be practicing what you're preaching. Spirit catches up with you, take it from me. And weekly action, one structured study or output cycle for you. So write one piece, record a teaching, complete a chapter with notes. So an example could be an 8-week series where you build an argument. Right, not kind of a hot take on something, an actual solid argument. The wildfire for you is evangelizing intensity, but without the rigor of research. And the ash is abandoning meaning because certainty feels impossible for you. So really, this for you, Leo, is disciplined inspiration. Making your inspiration reality. So we're going to move now from big meaning to deep entanglements. Virgo rising, and this for you, Virgo, is in your 8th house. For you, this initiation is through intimacy. It's in your 8th house. Sorry, I don't know if I said that. So this initiation is through intimacy, shared resources, debt and power dynamics. So pretty intense for you. It's the 8th house. Saturn here will be demanding clean agreements, and Neptune dissolves illusions around control and fusion. So that can be your control or the other's control, and that fusion. And your vow or your promise to yourself is making the invisible contract visible. So weekly action could be one concrete cleanup in shared finances or energetic exchanges. You may want to review a joint account or renegotiate a plan. They could be setting a boundary around your emotional labor or the other's emotional labor. So, for example, you could have one direct conversation a week where expectations are clarified. Your wildfire is scorched earth, severing, to feel safe. So if you feel like doing that severing, go through it slowly. Don't do it impulsively. Aries, Mars brings impulse. Your ash is passive entanglement because the confrontation feels too much for you. So your middle path, Virgo, is adult trust, clear terms, real intimacy. So let's move from the hidden contract of the 8th house to the explicit contract. Libra rising, you have this conjunction happening in your 7th house. So partnership is the crucible for you. This initiates a new relational contract. Desire with accountability. Saturn will be asking you what the rules of engagement are and what is non-negotiable. Neptune will be looking at where you're idealizing the other or losing yourself in we, that kind of merge where you lose your identity. Your vow or your promise to yourself could be, I would tell the truth kindly and directly. And your weekly action, bringing this into reality, could be to renegotiate one agreement. Time, money, emotional availability, could also be commitment, sexuality, or shared goals. So, example, write a simple agreement for a reoccurring friction point. So, your wildfire, Libra, is conflict as purification. So, those dramatic ultimatums that can sometimes fill out. We've got to remember Aries is ruled by Mars, so this can be fast, passionate, and hot, especially in the relationship. And the ash for you is appeasement, appeasing the other and erasing yourself, self-erasure to keep the peace. So your medicine, Libra, is brave clarity with this transit. We'll move from partnership of the 7th house into the daily forge, Scorpio rising. Scorpio, this is in your 6th house. So this is an initiation through work, health, routine, and the disciplines that decide your future. So Saturn here will be demanding systems and Neptune meaning. And Aries will definitely be asking you for action. So your vow or your promise to yourself could be, my life force deserves a structure. And your weekly action could be to upgrade one routine and keep it. Your sleep, strength, nutrition, boundaries, time blocking, block some time off for those things, and your workload limits. So an example could be building a weekly fire break day where you do only essentials and restore your nervous system. So Scorpio, your wildfire is burnout, urgency as identity. I've got to do this, I've got to do that, or I would dissolve, that kind of feeling. And ash is neglect, the neglect of these daily things. They're important, and drift. So this fire, this initiation is tempering for you, Scorpio. So it's finding that sustainable heat and repeatable effort. Okay, Scorpio. So from duty to desire, Sagittarius rising. This is happening for you in your 5th house. So this is creative and romantic ignition. We're talking about art, pleasure, risk, and performance for you, Sagittarius. So Neptune is looking or bringing that inspiration, and Saturn is making that inspiration into a craft. And Aries wants you to ship the work out, okay, take action on that. So your vow or your promise to yourself with this conjunction could be, I would take my creativity seriously without making it grim. A weekly action could be one small finished piece, a reel, a poem, a lesson, an offering, even a planned date night. And an example for you, it could be an 8-week create and publish challenge with a modest scope if you're on the online space. Adapt that as you need it. Your wildfire, Sagittarius, is impulsive risk and 10 projects at once you can't finish or contain. And the ash is hiding behind, I'm not ready yet, I can't do it, I'm not ready, I'm not prepared, I haven't got this, I haven't got that. The initiation for you is finding joyful discipline, Sagittarius. So from the stage into the roots, Capricorn rising. This is happening in your 4th house. So you've got fire in your foundations. Your initiation is around the home, family systems, ancestry, your inner base, everything that is foundational to you. So Saturn Neptune here initiates emotional structure. So repair what you can, end whatever you have to, and build a home base that supports your future. So your vow this week, your promise to yourself could be, I will stop reenacting old heat. Weekly action for you could be one boundary or repair practice, a family conversation, or as simple as decluttering, making a clear household rule, or creating a nurturing quiet space for yourself. So an example could be one weekly home governance hour for planning and care. Your wildfire, Capricorn, is ancestral conflict flaring. And ash is shutdown and cold endurance. So the medicine for you, Capricorn, is steady warmth, a home that holds you. Okay, Capricorn. So from the roots of the fourth house to voice, Aquarius rising. So this initiation for you is happening in your third house, and that will be through communication. Your voice could be writing, learning. We could also be looking at siblings, your local daily life, and your information diet. So Saturn is asking for precision and responsibility with words here, Aquarius, whereas Neptune is asking for poetry and meaning, but also tempts projection. Okay, so your vow or your promise to yourself could be, I will speak clearly, not constantly. And your weekly action could be one discipline, publishing rhythm, a newsletter, a short teaching. It could also be, if you're not doing the publishing, a direct conversation. Or if it's study or learning module completed. So an example could be a weekly message practice where you say one true thing without over-explaining. Your wildfire to watch for, Aquarius, is outrage speech and nervous system heat. And your ash is self-censoring, self-silencing here. So this is clean speech and brave, measured, real. Okay, Aquarius, that's what I've got for you. So from the voice of the third house to value, Pisces rising. This is happening in your second house. So this is initiation through money, values, self-worth, and what you'll stand for materially. So Saturn here is asking for financial boundaries, where Neptune is asking for values-led living, and it can tempt martyrdom or magical thinking. So be careful here, Pisces. So your vow or promise to yourself could be, I'll fund what I value and stop bleeding that martyrdom for what I don't. So practically, for example, weekly action can be one concrete resource decision. So you might want to do a budget review or have a look at the pricing of your work. It could be to cancel a drain on your resources or your self-worth. Build a savings pot, invest in a tool that supports your path. One leak plug and one value spend per week. That's simple. So plug what's leaking. Spend only on what is of worth and value to you per week. So the wildfire for you, Pisces, is impulsive spending. That you are ruled by Jupiter. And exalted Venus, they love a good spend, okay? So that impulsive spending as freedom. But also the ash for you is scarcity trance. So it can be that mindset of scarcity. So the medicine for you, Pisces, is steady self-trust. So that's Saturn conjunct Neptune at 0 degrees by rising sign, framed as fire initiation into solar agency, reliable heat. Your take home is simple. Choose one promise or vow you can keep. Name one guiding ideal you can stand behind and commit to one action that proves it. If your plan can't repeat it, it's not Saturn yet. If your action isn't anchored in meaning, it's not Neptune yet. If you never start, Aries stays an idea. And if you want to go deeper, work with your Aries house. That's where the inspiration is happening. And watch the extremes, wildfire and ash. The middle path is steady ignition. And if you want to go deeper with your personal chart and see all the nuances that are going on there, go over to www.soulsymbols.co.uk and you can book a reading there. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.